Hello and welcome back to the next video. Now in this video we want to take a look at the model view because we need to ensure that our data model is exactly structured the way we need it to be in order to then do or dive into DAX calculations. Okay, so we already know the views we have in our model. We have the report view, right? We have the data view, which is this one, which offers us a few transformation things like also creating measures as columns and new quick measures, but we already talked about this. And now we want to take a look at this model view. Now, what is this model view all about? Well, this model view actually reflects the whole data model we have, which we can use. And you can see all the different kinds of tables we have currently in our model, which are there, right, on the side, which are already also there in this model view. And what you can see here is we got relationships between the tables, okay? So Power BI automatically has already detected relationships, so how the tables are actually connected, okay? And you can see in the middle there is this sales table. Now the sales table for us is actually our transactions table, right? Or facts table. Now this simply means that you can see that we got 1 to star relationships, and also the arrow here currently points from the 1 to the many side, okay? It's 1 to many. The 1 to star simply means 1 to many relationship. And you can see if you hover over one of the relationships, then you can see exactly which kind of columns in the two tables are linked together. You can see here, for instance, it's the salesperson ID, and here also the salesperson ID, okay? And the same is true for all the other tables. Just hover over the relationship and you can see exactly how Power BI has structured the model. Now, sometimes Power BI might do this wrong, so it might connect two tables in a way you do not want it to be. All you would do then is simply right-click on the relationship and you can delete it, okay? So if Power BI one time Power BI has, well, created a wrong relationship for you, simply delete it if you want to do that, okay? Now, what you can also do, of course, is you can set up new relationships. For instance, you can see that we created the dates table, right, with our custom emp function, but so far the dates table itself is not connected to our sales table. So what we can do is simply create the connection. And there is no need to write any kind of difficult code for that. All you do is simply take the specific dimension you want. In this case is the continuous date column, okay? And you simply drag and drop it onto the sales table, and here on the exact column you want to create the connection. In our case, it's the purchase date, okay? So I simply drag and drop it on the purchase date, and you can see that now this connection establishes, okay? This 1 to many, and you can see if you hover over it, then you can see the border around the two columns which are connected now. If you want to learn more about the connections, what you also can do is double click on a specific connection, like this one, okay? And then you can also here, in this window, edit the relationship, because you can say, okay, which table do I have? In this case, the sales table. And then you simply select the specific column. You can see currently it's a purchase date here. And then you go to the other table. In this case, it's a dates table, for instance, which we have selected currently. And you select the specific column from this table. You can also create the relationship like that, okay, if you want to do that. What you also can see here is you can see the cardinality as well as the cross-filter direction. You can see the cardinality here is many to one, and many to one because, remember what I've told you before, you can see a star here and a 1 here, right? And currently it's from the sales table to the dates table. That's why we have a many to one relationship. Or if you would start with the dates table, you would have a 1 to many relationship, right? And you also have the cross-filter direction, which is currently applied to single. Single simply refers to this little arrow you have in the middle. This simply means that you can select a specific date in your dates table, and then your sales table gets filtered. Basically, the purchase date gets filtered by the selection you made in your dates table. However, as long as the cross-filter direction is single, this simply means that if you select something from the sales table, for instance, if you select a specific purchase date in the sales table, you would not be able to filter the dates table, okay? Because we currently have a single filter direction. You could also apply both. If you do this, I simply enable it now and click OK. Then you can see that the arrow is now on double-sided arrow, right? So basically now you're able to filter the dates table using a specific column in the sales table. However, this is something you actually normally do not want. So normally you structure your model in a way that you would have 1 to many relationships, so 1 to star, as well as single directional filter. So this should actually, most of good model structuring would require this kind of filter direction as well as the cardinality. Because you can also here set, for instance, 1 to 1, 1 to many, or many to many relationships. So basically, many to one as we have currently simply means that we got one specific date in our sales table because we have a continuous date range. This simply means that in the dates table we have a continuous date range. It simply reflects the fact that each date is only appearing one time in the dates table, okay? But of course, this date can appear several times in the sales table, right? Because on the same day we could have created several purchases from customers, right? So that's why we have a many to one. So many appearances of the same date in the sales table and only one appearance in the dates table. Of course, you could also have one-to-one relationships. So if both values are only appearing one time in both of your tables, we do not have an example in this model here, but this could be the case. You could have also one-to-many, which actually would be the same as if you simply reverse the dates table and the sales table, then you would have a one-to-many, right? And you could have many-to-many. So if the same value appears several times in both tables. But this is something which might create problems in your model, this many-to-many. So this is something you want to avoid, okay? Most of the time, do not use many-to-many. Structure your model in a way that you have a one-to-many or many-to-one relationship, okay? That's just all for that. And I click OK. We have now created the relationship. And the last thing I would like to do is I want to structure the whole visualization a little bit different, because I personally like to drag my sales table, which is the facts table or the transaction table, to the bottom, and all my filter tables, which are my dimension tables, to the top. Okay, like that, and also this one like that. Maybe put it here, and also this one here. Okay, so this is just a personal preference, but I personally prefer it this way, so I know exactly. Okay, these are my tables for filtering basically, and this is my sales table, my transactions table, my facts table, which I'm going to filter in my model. Okay. So this structure is, at least from my point of view, easier to follow along, and also if you share the model or your whole report and then with a colleague, then actually this structure is also a little bit more, well, obvious or less cluttered. Okay. All right. So that is it for the model view. Now, one more thing to mention, depending on the version of Power BI we have, because in older versions there was also a relationship view, which is kind of similar to this model view. It had a little less options, but it's basically showing the same data structure, and it would be another, well, icon here. But in the newer versions of Power BI, this relationship window is gone and replaced by the model view, okay? All right. Beside this, you got a property window here. Just what you can do here is simply you can select a specific table if you like to do that, and then you have options here like general and advanced. If you select this, you can here see what you can do. You can basically rename your specific table if you want to do that. You can enter synonyms in the for the Q&A, because Power BI also offers the option that you basically then write a specific sentence and trying to let Power BI build your visualization. Okay, there's also something which is coming, which is available here. You can simply enter synonyms. You can give a description if you like to do that, and also you can decide whether you want to show this table or not. So currently the hidden is off, but if I would enable hidden for the customer data, if I enable hidden, like that, and then I go, you can see it's grayed out, and then if I go to my report view, then there is no customer data anymore. So the table basically is hidden. It's also something you can do here if you want to do that for complete tables. Okay. And for the advanced, this is simply the storage mode, because there are different storage modes in Power BI. In our case, for Excel, it's only import, but if you want to have a live connection, for instance, to a SQL server database or something like that, you could also set the storage mode to direct query if you want to do that, or dual, which simply reflects a kind of combination between import and direct query. Okay. That's that, and that's it for this video. So as always, thanks a lot for watching, and I hopefully see you in the next video. Until then, best guys.